Good morning and welcome to the AP Biology classroom. I'm Dr. Chris Gamble and I'm the AP Biology teacher. Some of you, this is your second time in on a Parents' Day. Others, this is your first time visiting our class. As you've probably figured out by now, I am not here today. I'm actually at Purdue University right now hosting as a chaperone for some of our students attending the World Food Prize. However, I've made this video to teach you a little bit about the class, and at the end of it, I will invite you to go back and see what your students are doing in the back. So biology is the scientific study of living systems, how they function, and how they interact with other living systems and their surrounding environment. So that's our focus in this AP Biology course. Biology, of course, is one of the natural sciences, and science, as I teach my students, is not just memorizing a bunch of facts. When we talk about science, science is a process where we develop ideas and explanations for natural phenomenon. And then, once we have come up with an explanation, we test those explanations through observation and experimentation until the ideas either are supported or rejected. And science, by going through this process over and over, we gain a better understanding of how natural processes work. One of my major goals in this class is to help students learn to think like a biologist. We think differently. One main thing that we do all the time is it's not enough to have an explanation. You must back up any explanation or idea with evidence. Before I go further about the class, you might have questions about who am I? So, as I said, my name is Chris Gamble, and this is my 11th year teaching at Culver, 9th year teaching AP Biology. I also have an interesting background point that I like to tell my students on the first day of classes. I actually failed biology my freshman year in college.
What did he just say?
Yes, that's right. I failed this class. And now I teach your students. I tell my students this not because I'm proud of the fact that I failed the class. However, I have been the struggling student. I have been the student standing in the back of the class or sitting back there saying, please don't call on me. I don't know the answer. Please don't call on me. I have also turned it around. I graduated with a degree in biology. I went on to get a master's and a PhD in wildlife biology. So I know how to go from being the student who doesn't want to be called on and wishes the class was just over to being the student who's able to excel and actually publish scientific research. And my hope is to be able to work with all students, those who excel naturally, but also those who are struggling and want to do better, because I've been there. So now let's go back to AP Biology. What are the goals of this class? AP Biology is a very rigorous course and it contains a college-level curriculum. Students who do this are exposed to the equivalent of 2 semesters of college lab-based biology. The first semester at my old college, 1401 and 1402. This is the equivalent of 8 college credits. That's a tremendous amount of material to cover in one high school class. And so students are being exposed to an advanced level curriculum at the high school level. The other thing I want to do beyond just biology is I want to teach students work and study habits that are going to benefit them in college. The majority of my students in this class are juniors and seniors, and occasionally a sophomore joins us. College is not very far away for these students, and developing the skills that are going to help them be successful in college, no matter what major they are, is a very important thing, and I tried to do that in this class. And then there was one more thing. What was it? Does anyone have a script? Okay, what was it? No. Oh, that's right. Oh, how can I forget that one?
I want them to do well on the AP test.
The AP test is the culminating exam that we take for this class, and I want them to do well on it. One of the things we do throughout this course is you'll find that the content is spiraled. We keep revisiting core ideas so that, one, they solidify for students, but they also see a lot of the interconnections of what's going on. When I teach biology, enjoy covering different levels of biology and different aspects of biology because everyone is excited about different things. For example, biology tends to start off with cellular level processes, which personally is not what gets me excited about biology. I am a wildlife biologist. I like large animals that move around. In general, the more dangerous the animal is, the more likely it is to eat me, the more interested I am in it. So given this, I get excited about wildlife. I don't get excited about the cellular level material, even though I know that's important because it drives animal behavior. Other students, on the other hand, might love that topic. They might like biochemistry. They might like talking about enzymes in cells. They might like cellular processes, photosynthesis, respiration, all this. So by approaching biology from different levels, my hope is first off to help students appreciate the sheer diversity that comes with biology, but also everyone finds something that they like in it, and it can really raise their excitement level in the material if they find a personal connection to it. Throughout this course, we do a wide variety of activities. And so what I'd like to do now is just talk about a small sampling of some of the different activities your students have been involved with over the year. So you'll see a variety of pictures here. Early in the course, we spend a lot of time in the lab playing with bubbles. And some of the labs we do there, the first lab we do, the very first week of school, is called the Bubbleology Lab, where students are given 4 different soaps, and they are asked to figure out which one is the best cleaner. And cleaning power is directly correlated to bubble size. So they are challenged to blow the biggest bubbles they can. And they end up creating bubbles that are approximately this big across, very large bubbles. And they measure these, and then not only do they look at the numbers, but they learn how to run a statistical analysis, doing a comparison between different ones and creating graphs with error bars. So they learn about statistical variation. So it's a way to make a math course more engaging by playing around with bubbles. But they learn how to analyze data and then back up their claim, which one's the best, with evidence. Another bubble lab that we do is the cell membrane lab, where students look at bubble membranes and realize that they show many of the same properties of our cell membranes. They are fluid mosaic models. And so students are able to do a variety of different things playing with these bubbles in order to solidify their understanding of how a cell membrane works. Another lab that's one of my personal favorites is the Osmosis Mystery Challenge. The students come in one day and I tell them in the back of the lab there are 6 bottles of sucrose solution, so a type of sugar, but they have different concentrations. One bottle has no sucrose, the second one has 0.2 moles, 0.4, 0.6, 0.8, and 1 mole, and each of them is a different color. The problem is I've forgotten which one is which. So students are given a scale, some beakers, and a stack of potatoes and told to go figure out. They have to design an experiment, carry out the experiment, analyze the data, and use that data to determine which of the different substances are each one, which solution's which. So you can see pictures here of students that work in the lab. Happy to say everyone found the correct solution and all. They designed experiments that were effective. We also do a variety of other labs that touch on a host of different topics. We spend time in molecular biology doing gel electrophoresis. One of the labs we do there is called the Taster Lab, where students go in, they check to see if they are able to taste a chemical called PTC. Some people can taste it, some can't. PTC has a bitter taste and occurs in a number of types of food, including Brussels sprouts. So everyone determines if they can taste it. That is what geneticists call their phenotype. However, we want to know their genotype. What actual DNA coding do they have for that ability? And so students in this lab extract DNA, they take a cheek swab, they get the DNA out of the cell, then they amplify it and they run gel electrophoresis, and they're able to determine their genotype, whether they're homozygous dominant, heterozygous, or homozygous recessive for the ability to taste PTC. Another molecular bio lab we do is called the Piccolo Lab, where students do a genetic transformation. They take the glow-in-the-dark gene from a jellyfish and insert it into E. coli bacteria and get the bacteria to glow in the dark, to express the gene from another organism. We also play around with photosynthesis and cell respiration using algae beads, where they look at a variety of variables and how those affect the rate of photosynthesis and respiration. When we got into evolution, students were sent around the building to get bacteria samples from different locations and to see if over a 3-day period we could actually see if a population of bacteria would evolve. So we learned a lot about bacteria and we're able to see evolution in action. These are a variety of the activities that we do in AP Bio. I encourage you to ask your students about what they've done, and hopefully they've really enjoyed some of these and they'd love to tell you about them. So what I would like to end with is talking about the AP Biology test. As I mentioned earlier, that one of our major goals is for students to do well on the AP Bio test. The AP Bio test is Monday, May 4th. That is just 10 days away from today. It is a 3-hour comprehensive exam of everything we've covered all year. Students will be given an hour and a half to answer 60 multiple choice questions. They then get a 10-minute break, and then they get an hour and a half to answer 6 essay questions, what we call FRQs. You might remember back to school when you took exams and stuff. I want to assure you, These are difficult exams. These are hard questions. The AP curriculum doesn't ask basic biology questions. For example, they will not ask a question, what is cellular respiration? That's not something they're going to ask. They expect you to already know that. However, what they will do is they will say, during the process of cellular respiration, and they'll show a map of it, this particular molecule stops working. What are the consequences of that? So students need to take their understanding of biology. Once they have that, they then need to think of the ripple effects of stopping one part of cell respiration and what the consequences of it would be. To help students prepare, we are now in review mode, but there's a lot of material to do it. To help them prepare for it, this coming Sunday, so in 2 days from now, I am offering a completely optional but highly encouraged practice exam Sunday afternoon. It's 3 hours long, mimicking the actual AP test. It will be in this room. It starts at 3 in the afternoon and will go till 6. Students have selected if they want to attend this or not, but I do ask, if your student's trying to attend this, I really encourage you to support them. I know it might cut into your time visiting with them this weekend, but taking a practice AP test a week out from the real one can give them a very good feel of where they are right now and what they need to focus on to be ready for the actual exam. Once they have taken the actual exam in July, they will get the results back and everyone will earn a score between 1 and 5. 5 being the best, 1 being the lowest. A 3, 4, or a 5 is considered passing. I would like students to do very well. My goal, I'm shooting for 4s and 5s as much as possible for 2 reasons. The first off, if a student scores really well, they are interested in the biological sciences, they can get college credit. Many colleges will give credit for a particular score. Every college sets their own standards, but they get credit for that course. And if they want to be a biology major, for example, they might be able to skip introductory biology and jump straight into higher level courses. So they get into the more interesting parts because they already have the foundation. So if they score well, they get to do that. For some other of my students, they have no interest in being a biology major, and that's okay. The world needs all kinds of different interests and stuff. And so taking this course, they can gain a lot whether they go into biology or not. But if they don't want to take a biology major, or they realize biology is not for them and they never, ever, ever want to take another science class in their life, if they do well in the AP Bio test, they won't have to. They don't need to take science again when they're in college. So either reason is a reason for them to study and do well on that exam. So what are the students doing today? You might have noticed they're in the back, hopefully working away. And what they're doing today, they're focusing on photosynthesis, one of the major pathways that we studied in class. They're reviewing it by drawing it with chalk markers and then explaining it with their neighbors. So what I encourage you to do now, and I'm about to wrap this up, is I want you, once this video ends, I want you to go back there. I want you to take a look at what they're doing. Ask them to explain the process to you. Help them start to review for the AP test. Ask them questions. Let them answer about how photosynthesis works. In addition to that, I would encourage all of you before you leave, if you look, the counter right over there by the window, there's a stack of test books, AP test questions. Pick one up and look at a couple questions. I want you to see the kinds of questions your students are going to engage with on this test to get an appreciation of how challenging this exam is. So take a look at them. Please put it back in the same stack. They're separated by years, but take a look at that. Go see what your students are doing. I hope you have a fantastic Parents' Day, and I wish you a great weekend. Goodbye.